Hi, William Cook for Discussion Board 3. I decided to talk about the letter from Birmingham jail by Dr. Martin Luther King. And I chose this topic, A, because I see a lot of relativism to it today. Every time you turn on the news, there's something going on about, inequalities, some kind of social issue, a racial divide. And not saying I'm not taking a stance on whether or not I agree or disagree on this, but I think it's important to really sit back, take a deep breath, and look at everything, look at the facts. And I think that's what Dr. Martin Luther King set a great example of in the past. In his letter, he talks about the reason he was there, and he was essentially he was protesting in a nonviolent way in Birmingham, Alabama, and he was arrested for his protest. He mentioned how he was upset with the white moderate and how they're turning their head to injustice. Now, that injustice being unfair treatment towards the black population here in the United States. Despite making strides, i.e., the 13th Amendment, no more segregation in the schools. However, not universal. And Dr. Martin Luther King was reaching out, and he said that a small injustice is a big injustice for everyone. In so few words, he wrote this letter to several of his priests from his brotherhood back from where he went to school, and the reason he went to them was because the church was doing exactly what he thought the white moderate was not doing. Now, the white moderate being the people who are tolerant of people of a minority racial background and turning their heads to the injustice by those who were not tolerant. They're doing nothing. And by taking a neutral stance, they may as well have been condoning it. And that's exactly what Dr. Martin Luther King was going for in his letter. He was pointing out to the church how disappointed he was in them for not speaking out against the injustices and not speaking out against the unequal opportunity for people of a minority. So another thing he talks about, and this part is where I think a lot of us could take a lesson today. He talked about purifying yourselves. And the key to that is the non-violent protest. That's what he's urging his fellow protesters towards. Non-violent, and make sure you're taking care of yourself first before you try to push something that you're not doing. So Dr. Martin Luther King really set an example that I wish people could follow today, because you see these protests all the time and they always seem to turn violent. Dr. Martin Luther King would not approve that. Purify yourselves before asking others to be pure. I think that is a great example, and it's still relevant today. So overall, Dr. Martin Luther King speaking out against his brothers from the church, people of Christian faith, and them calling for him to back off, he couldn't. He couldn't back off. Not while there was injustice happening on this country. And it's a very admirable thing about Dr. Martin Luther King. So a letter from Birmingham jail by Dr. Martin Luther King. Great example and very relevant today. Thank you.